I'm 35M. My wife Emily is 33F. We've been together 9 years, married 6. We're not flashy. We don't soft launch relationship pics or match sneakers. We split rent, we take turns mopping, we laugh at the same shows. If you asked me in January where I see myself in 5 years, I would have said, here, with her. Maybe a kid. Maybe a dog first. In March, I got a promotion. The kind with a real title and a fake raise. Emily said we should celebrate properly before life gets busier. She pulled up a list of top 10 secret island hotels and chose a boutique spot with 20 rooms, private beach, and a logo that looked like a seashell wearing a crown. It was expensive in the way dreams are expensive. She said she'd cover flights if I covered the hotel. We high-fived like teammates. The emails started the next day. Dear Mr. and Mrs. Carter, we're delighted to welcome you. The owner, Adrian Vale, extends a personal greeting. No big deal. Hotels send templates. But these weren't templates. They used our names a lot. They offered a complimentary upgrade. Owner's discretion. A staff member named Mara asked for our arrival time, so Mr. Vale can be available. Emily squealed at the upgrade. I thought, cool perk. On the plane, she wore a linen dress and a gold anklet she said was vacation energy. She took selfies in the airport lounge, then a photo of our boarding passes, then me, then herself again, then a boomerang of champagne. Felt sweet, not showy. She kept saying, I can't believe we're doing this. Like a kid on a field trip. The island smelled like sunburnt mangoes. The hotel's driveway curved from palms into a courtyard with a fountain that whispered secrets to itself. A bell captain took our bags. And then he appeared. Adrian. Not in a suit, not in white linen, but in that casual rich guy uniform. Pale blue shirt, sleeves rolled, tan like he owned the sun. Emily, he said to her first like we were meeting old friends. You made it. I should have noticed that. Instead, I noticed the view. Our upgraded suite had double doors to a balcony that inhaled the ocean. A chilled bottle of rose waited in a silver bucket with a handwritten card. To new memories. A.V. Look, your initials. Emily joked because my last name is Vaughn. We clinked glasses. A gull laughed like it knew things. That first evening was all softness. Warm water, warm air, warm hands. Emily wore a silk top I'd never seen. She tied her hair up in a way that belonged in movies. At dinner, the host said, "This way, owner's table," and led us to a corner with the best breeze. Adrian stopped by to make sure everything was perfect, laying his palm on the chair back behind Emily, close enough to move a strand of hair that wasn't there. He asked how the rose was. Emily said, "Dangerous," and they both laughed. I told myself I was being primitive. Hospitality is a performance. He's just good at his job. Day 2, compliments turned into access. A private tour of the property, because the kitchen loves when guests see the garden. Emily asked questions like a blogger, where the lavender grows, what salt they use, why the chef wears sneakers. Adrian had answers for everything, and when he didn't, he had a story. He bought the place after college. He rebuilt after a hurricane. He believes in earned luxury. He said earned, and looked at Emily like they shared a secret. When we got back to the room, a tray waited, truffles, cut passion fruit, a note, for tomorrow's sunrise. Emily squealed again, kissed my cheek, snapped a picture, tagged the hotel. Adrian liked it within seconds. That night, I fell asleep to waves and woke to silence. Emily wasn't in bed. The bathroom door was slightly open. The light was off. Her phone glow pulsed on the dresser, face down. I almost called her name, then didn't. Trust is quiet. I told myself she was on the balcony listening to the ocean, getting the vacation shot with long exposure. In the morning, she said she'd been watching the moon. It looked like a coin someone forgot to spend, she said. I loved that. I filed it next to the other million reasons I loved her. Day 3, lines blurred. At breakfast, Mara mentioned a charity event the hotel hosted monthly. Local musicians, silent auction, mingling on the lawn. The owner would love if you joined, she said politely, but to Emily again. We said yes. Free wine is free wine. We posted up under string lights that made everyone famous. Adrian worked the crowd like a clean-shaven storm. Every few minutes, he drifted back to us, orbiting Emily like a planet with gravity. People smiled at him with that mix of admiration and permission. He introduced us to a jeweler who sold shells shiny enough to make you sell your car. Later, when the band took a break, Adrian asked if anyone wanted to see the new lounge they're building. A half-dozen guests said sure. We followed him through a staff hallway. On the wall, a framed newspaper called him Prince of the Palms. He brought out a bottle that wasn't on the menu. Emily said she'd never tasted anything like it. He said, "You should come back tomorrow. I'll open the other one." He said you and he meant her, and I let it roll past because I'm civilized. That night, we did the kind of vacation life you pay for. We jumped in the pool at midnight when no one was there. We kissed on the steps like teenagers. We ate leftover truffles in bathrobes. Emily was electric, buzzing. She fell asleep with her phone in her hand. I moved it to the nightstand and plugged it in because that's the quiet domestic choreography you do when you love someone. Day 4 broke the spell. Not with a bang, with a notification. Emily asked me to airdrop her a photo I'd taken of the sunrise from the sand. When I opened my camera roll, I saw a live photo I hadn't taken. It was our balcony the previous night, 20 seconds of nothing, then 1 second of something. A male voice, low and close, whispering on the audio. Don't make it harder." I played it again, thumb pressed tight to the screen. The voice wasn't mine. Live photos are weird. They capture a breath before and after the shutter. If a phone is recording from a locked screen, you get a sliver of life you didn't ask for. That sliver was enough to change everything I thought I knew. I didn't accuse. Not then. I watched. I counted small things like a person counting raindrops to see if the storm will pass. Emily started carrying her phone like a passport. Her laughs had timing, short when I walked into a room. Adrian appeared when he wasn't supposed to. A manager mentioned he doesn't usually host this much. Like the weather had changed. Day 5. I set a boundary that sounded like a joke. No private tours without me. I'm jealous of lemons. She laughed, said I was being cute, said I could come to the lounge build that night because it's silly to be alone there anyway. I said great. She said she might be late depending on hair. I said fine, I'd wait in the bar. I sat there watching couples pretend not to have fights. Mara wiped the counter with professional sadness. I ordered a club soda because I wanted a sharp mind if my world tilted. 10 minutes passed. 20. The musician sang hallelujah like the word meant something new. I texted, "Still coming. Dots. Already here. Where are you?" She wrote. That's when my stomach did the elevator drop. "Where?" I typed. "New lounge," she replied and added a pin. The pin landed on the staff villa behind the garden. Not on the construction lounge. Not on any place a guest should be. I told Mara I wanted to leave a note for Adrian. Something boring, plausible, non-explosive, and asked if she could buzz the back door so I could stick it on his office. "He's on property. I just saw him walk through the corridor by the staff villa," she said, like she was reporting cloud cover. I walked the path beneath lit palms. Their shadows looked like fingers. My heart beat the way it does when you tell your body you're not in danger and your body refuses to believe you. The staff villa had a side patio with slatted wood that didn't quite meet the frame. The kind of gap you only notice if you're lost or looking for something. I didn't intend to be that person, the lurker, the snoop, but that's what pain turns you into. Someone you said you'd never be, doing things you'd never do, for reasons you wish you didn't have. Through the gap, I saw 2 glasses on a low table. I saw a linen shirt on a chair that wasn't mine. I heard a hushed laugh that belonged to my wife. I didn't burst in. I didn't film. I stood there with the sunburned version of myself, the one who believed in rows and upgrades, and I mourned him. Then I left. Back in our room, I did 3 things I'm still proud of. I took a photo of the live photo screen that showed the audio wave and timestamp. I opened our banking app and downloaded the hotel folio charges. There were comped items that matched times Emily was at the spa. I wrote 1 sentence to myself in notes. You deserve to know the truth in daylight. I slept 2 hours. When I woke, the ocean sounded like a crowd waiting. Day 6, I turned the volume from passive to quiet precision. I asked Mara politely how to book a meeting with a manager about a sensitive service matter. She said the GM was off-site, but the owner was always happy to help. Perfect. I told Emily I wanted to explore town alone that afternoon, buy a stupid tourist hat, take pictures of cats. She said okay a little too quickly. Dinner? I asked. Totally, she said. Later, at 4 p.m. I walked into the lobby in a shirt I had ironed with intent. The air smelled like citrus and money. Adrian stood near reception, advising a family on something that made them instantly agree. When he saw me, he smiled like we were old friends meeting on purpose. Do you have 5 minutes in your office? I asked. He looked at my face long enough to measure the situation, then nodded. Of course. His office was curated to suggest humility. A simple desk, a framed photo of the hotel pre-renovation, a shelf of travel books with cracked spines. He offered water. I didn't sit. This is going to be straightforward, I said. I'm asking one question. I'm asking it because I paid for a fantasy, and I'm leaving with a bruise. Is there anything going on between you and my wife? He did the little rich man pause. The one that says I'm deciding if I should lie to you or buy you. Then he set his jaw like a man who rose in the morning. No, he said. We value all our guests. If something gave you that impression, I'm sorry. I nodded, pulled out my phone, pressed a button, and let 1 second play from the live photo. Don't make it harder. The whisper filled the tidy room like fog. Adrian's eyes didn't widen. He didn't stutter. He rolled his tongue against his molar once, then said, That could be anyone. It could, I said. If we were anyone. He stood. I think we're done. No, I said. We're almost done. Here's what will happen. I'll be in the lobby at 6. You'll be there. Emily will be there. No theatrics, no shouting. You will treat the truth with the same hospitality you treat money. You will look my wife in the eyes and say exactly what it is, so I don't have to live the rest of my life guessing. He smirked a little. Or I email your investors and your brand partners with these files and a simple question. Is this your code of conduct? I'm not interested in a refund. I'm interested in clarity. For a half second, he looked like what he really was. Not a prince, just a man who built a house with too many windows. 6, he said. At 5:58, the lobby was a stage. Guests checked in. Glasses clinked. The fountain's whisper got louder. Mara hovered at a professional distance. I stood by the desk like a person who had lost something expensive and was hoping someone would turn it in. Emily walked in at 6:03. She looked ocean-swept and dangerous. When she saw Adrian and me together, her face did a thing I'll never forget. It emptied, then filled with a decision. Is this necessary? She asked me. I said, yes. Adrian leaned on the counter like gravity was optional. Emily, he said softly, and in that one word there were 100 nights I hadn't known about. I didn't make a speech. I didn't present slides. I asked one question the way a surgeon makes one clean cut. Is there anything going on between you two that violates my marriage and your hotel's ethics? Silence is loud in a lobby. Adrian glanced at Mara. Mara didn't look away. Emily didn't breathe. And then Adrian did the only decent thing he did the entire time I knew him. He told the truth. Yes. The word sat there like a pebble dropped in a glass of still water. No splash. Just rings expanding into everything. Since when? I asked. 3 weeks, he said. It started conversationally. Emily's hands were shaking. Lucas, she started, and then stopped because that's not my name in this story, and because there wasn't anything she could say that would make the rings collapse back into the pebble. I nodded once. Thank you, I told Adrian. I'll handle the rest with your general manager and our attorney. I turned to Emily. Pack. We're leaving in the morning. She reached for my arm and then didn't. Can we please talk in private? We are, I said, for the first time all week. I walked out to the veranda where the sun was finishing its job and sat down like people do when they remember their bodies. I didn't cry. I didn't break a glass. I watched a couple take pictures on the steps and imagined how they'd caption them. Our perfect night. No photo ever tells the truth. Audio sometimes does. Update 1, that night, 11:10 p.m. I moved our flights. The airline agent had a voice that made everything sound survivable. I booked a room at a chain hotel near the airport because I wanted clean sheets and fluorescent lights. I emailed the hotel's general manager, CCING myself, with a dry summary, dates, times, the lobby admission. I requested all incidentals be removed from our folio and all records preserved. I copied the hotel's brand contact listed on their website for partnerships, because if there's one language hospitality speaks fluently, it's liability. Update 2, next morning Emily asked to talk before the cab. I said yes because I believe in kind exits even when the entrance was a lie. She cried hard, shoulders, ribs, all of it. She said the usual words. Lost, attention, connection, didn't mean to. None of those words are wrong. None of them are enough. On the plane, I looked at the seatbelt sign and thought about how we trust thin straps of fabric and strangers with headsets to keep us alive in the sky. I thought about vows and how they're just words until you put the weight of your daily life on them, and then they either hold or they don't. When we landed, the world looked like itself again. Gray concrete, coffee lines, a child crying because lollipops aren't breakfast. I felt relief like a fever breaking. I texted my brother to ask if I could crash for a few days. He said yes like brothers do without asking why. Update 3, 1 week later I met with a lawyer. We spoke in numbers and forms and words that sound like fencing. Equitable, disclosure, posture. I told him I wasn't interested in punishing Emily. I wanted to protect myself. He nodded like he'd heard that from people who meant it and from people who didn't. He drew a clean path through a messy map. I signed where he pointed. Update 4, 2 weeks later the hotel's parent group wrote an email full of apology confetti. They offered a full refund of our stay and a credit I will never use. They also said Adrian was stepping back from daily operations. I pictured him choosing that phrase the way he chose wine. Update 5, 3 weeks later Emily moved into a sublet near her friend's place. She asked if I'd consider counseling, even if not to reconcile. I said yes to counseling for closure. The therapist's office had a small fountain like the hotel's. The therapist asked good questions that made me mad because they were good. Emily apologized without asking for forgiveness. I accepted the apology the way you accept a package that isn't for you, carefully, then you set it where it belongs. Update 6, now I'm writing this for strangers because strangers saved me more than friends did. When you type, I think my wife is cheating into a search bar at 2:14 a.m. The internet hands you a flashlight and a map scribbled by 1,000 people who made it out. It doesn't show you your path. It shows you that there is one. If you only listen to one thing I say, let it be this: affairs don't begin with a kiss. They begin with a setup, a set of conditions that make the wrong thing feel like a relief. Rewind, the hairline cracks. Last fall, Emily's team merged with another department. Her role got fuzzier, her wins got smaller. Her new boss praised her in bullet points and criticized her in paragraphs. At home, we did the two professionals in a small kitchen dance. We were fine. And that was part of the problem. We were fine. Not giddy. Not broken. Fine like a waiting room. Around December, Em started doom-scrolling after midnight. I'd wake up to the glow of her phone lighting the ceiling like a bad movie. She followed travel accounts, chefs, interior designers, women who lived in linen and laughed on balconies. None of that is a crime, but it curated a world where the only metric was feeling special. When I got that promotion, I thought I had also been promoted to husband who delivers magic. That's why the hotel hit so hard. It didn't just give us amenities. It gave her a mirror where she looked like the main character. And when the owner stepped into that frame, the plot got teeth. The live photo plan wasn't an accident. People asked after update 1, how did you even get that audio? Answer, I didn't set out to. But once I realized what a live photo can capture, I didn't leave it to luck again. Night 5, when I sat at the bar waiting for the lounge tour, I tested my phone like a tech running soundcheck. In Burst Plus Live you get 2 seconds of the world's truth. I learned the rhythm. Hold, breathe, lift. Felt gross. Felt necessary. I didn't want to be a detective in my own life, but I also didn't want to be a juror with no evidence. When I walked down the palm path toward the staff villa, I took one live photo of the door from the waist, partly as a timestamp, partly because my hands needed to do something that wasn't shake. The balcony whisper from earlier had been a gift from chaos. This one, if I needed it, would be a gift from patience. I never used those files online. I never uploaded them. They exist like fire extinguishers. Comforting because they're there, valuable because I never had to pull the pin in public. The lobby scene from her side, what she told me later. 3 weeks after we got home, our counselor asked Emily to narrate the lobby moment from inside her chest. I braced myself. Here's what she said, and I'm paraphrasing only to remove names. I walked in and saw both of you at the desk. My first thought wasn't I'm caught. It was relief that I didn't have to juggle anymore. Then it hit me, I had made you the person to carry the weight. I thought there would be time to phase things out. I thought I could make it not real by keeping it inside the hotel. When he said yes, I felt every story I told myself fall apart in one syllable. Then the counselor asked the question I was afraid of. When did you decide to cross the line? Emily didn't say, the moment in the staff villa, or the night with the band. She said, when he gave us the upgrade day one and looked at me like we shared a secret. It made me feel seen in HD. I mistook access for affection. That line sat in the room like a wet coat. The therapist looked at me. What do you want to do with that information? File it, I said, and then move on. The quiet mechanics of leaving. After the lobby, I didn't go scorched earth. I went compliance. I asked the hotel, in writing, to preserve all communication related to our reservation, service comping, and any internal notes referencing me or Emily. I cited their code of conduct, publicly available on their site, about relationships and conflicts of interest. I CC'd the brand partnerships inbox and the regional operations address listed in their footer. Nothing nasty, just sunlight. They got very cooperative very fast. Why? Because compliance isn't about feelings. It's about risk. And nothing scares a luxury brand like the thought of their standards looking like a suggestion. Sidebar for anyone listening who needs it. If you are ever in a situation like mine, 2 phrases open doors. Please confirm in writing. For records preservation. Those force professionalism without you lifting your voice. The hardest conversation I had. It wasn't with Emily. It was with the version of myself who wanted a villain clean enough to hate forever. In movies, the owner would smoke a cigar and monologue about power. In my life, he was a disciplined charmer who made a stupid, selfish choice. Twice, first to pursue, second to deny. Emily wasn't a femme fatale. She was a person who went looking for oxygen in a building where everything smells like flowers and nothing grows. The therapist said, you can hold someone accountable without erasing their humanity. I didn't like that. Then I did. Why didn't you expose them? Because I wanted a life, not a viral moment. Because humiliation doesn't heal me. Because I wanted the next chapter to be about me, not about them watching me. Because I wanted to be able to look back and say, I told the truth, I set boundaries, I left. 2 days after my email, the parent company's risk team scheduled a call with me and the GM. They asked procedural questions. They took notes like court stenographers. They refunded our stay. They offered a credit as a gesture of goodwill. I refused the credit, asked for a donation in that amount to the island's hurricane relief fund, and for written confirmation that the owner was removed from guest-facing operations pending review. They agreed to the donation. They sent a letter about stepping back. Was it PR? Of course. Did it matter? Also yes. Structures either protect bad behavior or pressure it. If my quiet paperwork nudged the pressure needle, that's enough. A month later, a line cook, anonymous account, DM, thank you'd me for not blowing up the staff. Employees get caught in the blast radius when you go nuclear. I screenshotted his message and hid it in a folder labeled perspective. What we did. We separated finances within a week. I moved into my brother's spare room, then into an apartment with floors that creak in a friendly way. We sold the sofa we picked together without arguing over cushions. Small mercy. Emily asked for therapy. I said yes for closure, not reunion. In session, we talked about the attention economy, how life online and luxury hospitality both run on curated exception. She admitted that what hooked her wasn't the owner. It was the feeling of being singled out by someone who could grant access. She had confused a gatekeeper with a partner. We cried separately and together. We divided the art. We divided the books like we were splitting a body of water into two lakes. We made an adult decision to divorce without making it our entire personality. The revenge you can put on a to-do list. People keep asking for the revenge part, so here is mine. It fits on a post-it. Truth in daylight. I got the admission in the lobby, not for spectacle, but so the truth existed in a place designed to sell illusions. Compliance over chaos. I sent 3 emails with nouns, dates, attachments. No adjectives. The brand handled the rest. Money alignment. I reversed charges that were comped under false pretenses, declined credits, and requested a donation. I did not let their currency become my closure. Exit with dignity. I did not torch a career server because a rich man couldn't keep his boundaries. I didn't post. I didn't subtweet. I just left well. That's it. No fireworks. Just consequences. The small ways healing shows up. Sleep came back first. Not all at once. In 45-minute patches that turned into hours. I started running without metrics. No watch, no PRs. Just streets and breath. I cooked the simple things we forgot when our life got fancy. Eggs, rice, beans, a grilled cheese I now consider a spiritual practice. I learned to sit in a coffee shop without my phone on the table like a defibrillator. I called my mom. She told me the obvious thing you only understand when it's said out loud. Being chosen isn't love. Choosing is. The last hard thing. The divorce hearing was short. The judge was efficient. The clerk was kind. The chairs were squeaky. When we walked out, I didn't feel triumph or tragedy. I felt space. Like my life had been a room with furniture I kept bumping into, and now I could see the floor. Outside the courthouse, Emily asked if we could hug. We did. It was awkward and real. We said sorry in the ways we could. For making you carry this. For not noticing sooner. For telling the truth so late. For staying when I should have asked. Then we went in different directions on a sidewalk busy enough to swallow us both. If you're listening because you need a map, here's mine. It isn't universal, but it worked for me. Watch behavior, not vows. Words are white paint. Behavior is the wood underneath. If you need to gather proof, collect timestamps, not speeches. Screenshots, folios, pins. Less is more. Ask for the truth in daylight. Shame grows in private. Reality, inconveniently, does not. Choose compliance when you want to choose chaos. Your future self will thank you. Don't narrate your rage on the internet. The internet will eat it and be hungry again by morning. Exit well. You can be firm without being cruel. You can be clear without being loud. And after the paperwork, build a life so uncomplicated you can hear your own laugh again. Epilogue, 6 months later. I saw a photo of the hotel in a magazine at the dentist. Different owner quoted. Same fountain. The caption said they were doubling down on values. Maybe they mean it. Maybe they don't. It's not my classroom anymore. I kept one thing from that trip. The line I wrote in my notes app at 3:12 a.m. You deserve to know the truth in daylight. It sits on my phone between grocery lists and reminders to water the plant. Last Sunday, I went for a run in the rain. I passed a couple taking engagement photos in front of our city hall. The photographer kept saying, "One more. Chin up. Chin up." The groom started laughing because his chin is just his chin. The bride laughed so hard she snorted, then put her hand over her mouth like she'd ruin the shot. The photographer said, "No, that's the one. I think that's my new metric for everything. Keep the take where you accidentally tell the truth. That's the only one that holds. Thanks for listening. If you're where I was, eat something, screenshot the folio, email the adults in the room, then go to bed. You're not a fool. You're a person who believed in a promise. Believe in one more, your life isn't over. It's just wider now.